What do you know? Looks like Transport Canada updated its website for the infographic for the new interim drone laws. Still hoping they'll release the permanent change proposals soon, because it was supposed to be by the end of this week, they said, the best case scenario. But I guess this is good too, to make everyone else aware of what the recent interim orders are. Alright, so let's look at this infographic. I was thinking about this too, like compared to the older one, it actually looks a little less threatening, if that's the right way to say it. Maybe it's just because of the different color change. The other one was plastered in like bright reds, like a stop sign and everything like that. It says here, almost the same thing. It's the law. If you fly your drone for fun and it weighs more than 250 grams and up to 35 kilograms, follow these rules. So these are kind of like what we mentioned the other day, what we saw in the Gazette. Within 90 meters above ground or lower, so like within the height, at least 30 meters away from vehicles, vessels, and the public if your drone weighs more than 250 grams up to 1 kilogram. So as mentioned, that's good for things like, I guess, people like me that fly the Mavic, but unfortunately that doesn't do too well for people who fly something bigger. And then it says at least 75 meters away from vehicles, vessels, and the public if your drone weighs more than 250 grams up to 35 kilograms. Okay, I think this is a typo, because it doesn't make any sense to say 250 grams to 1 kilogram, and this one says 250 grams to 35 kilograms. I'm assuming they mean 1 kilogram to 35 kilograms for this one, in case there's any like misunderstanding out there. So I guess it's a good thing that they published it online, but I guess it shows how rushed they were as well. And they also say here at least 5.5 kilometers away from the aerodromes, which means any airport, seaplane, base, or areas where aircraft can take off and land. So in general, that's almost the same thing. I always find it a little bit confusing with this, because I know a lot of people say right now for the laws, if you're basically flying from your own property, like going straight up, then that should be okay. Or same thing, like let's say if you're in, I guess, like a boat or something like that, and you fly from your own boat, then that should be okay. So it makes me think, like, if you're within, like, say, I'm exaggerating, but 5.4 kilometers within, like, say, the seaplane area, can you still take off from your own house, for example, just going straight up and doing a pan? Or likewise, if you're like in some kind of, I guess, private area and the person specifically gives you permission, yeah, go ahead, whatever. Like, would you still be able to go up and down? Because to my understanding, a lot of people say you can do that, but I've never actually gotten official clarification of that. Right, and 1.8 kilometers away from helicopters or aerodromes used exclusively by helicopters. So to my understanding, that means things like, for example, like helicopter pads that news report agencies use, so stuff like that. This one's kind of interesting, saying 9 kilometers away from natural hazard or disaster area. I guess they would qualify things like flooding as an example, although it makes me wonder, because I actually know someone that's going to, like, say, like Kelowna, like a little further north up in the province, and to my knowledge they actually had floodings and all that. So are you telling me because they had like a flooding there, for example, and it's still, like, to a certain extent it's still there, that they can't fly the drone because of that? Like, I would assume this means more like if there's safety crews and everything like that around, like they don't want you getting in the way. But it might be a little too generic in my opinion with the way the wording is. But again, these are interim orders or temporary, so hopefully like there'll be more clarification when the more permanent stuff comes out. Because even as I said before, I mean, it makes no sense where if the emergency responders or whoever can't get there in time, but you have like a drone flyer that has something that can help other people, then why would you stop them from using that? In my opinion, it makes no sense, just like with saving the hikers and all that. And we have things like they want you to keep the visual line of sight of the drone at all times, which we've talked about before. It makes absolutely no sense with the way you fly a drone sometimes. It's actually better to look at the screen than to always try to look at this like little dot up in the sky. And the controversial one, leaving your name, address, your telephone number all over the drone for everyone to see, which makes absolutely no sense because it doesn't help in the way it's intended. Yeah, so minus that one little error that I noticed, maybe someone else sees something different. That's what the general public needs anyway, something more simple and down to earth as opposed to something so complex. But it kind of makes me think too, again, instead of fear-mongering people about the drones and all that, they should be working with people. Like, allow people like, you know, people like myself just to help educate the public and all that. But then with certain stuff still, like for example, how generic it is, how you have to stay away from everyone according to this, it just doesn't make sense. Just like yesterday, when the guy came up to me and he wanted to learn about the drone, I mean, what do you do in situations like that? I mean, it should be treated like just like anything else, in my opinion. It should be more about the intent. I mean, if you're running the drone right in front of someone, like purposely trying to fly circles, and they're like, hey, stop that, then yeah, by all means, like, you know, fine them or punish them. Not if it's flying, like, you know, above taking aerial videos and people are marveling at it and all that. Although I'm really curious about flying like over someone's like own property, for example, like, even if it's in a certain restricted airspace, if that's what you want to call it. What the heck happened there? Man, if those things were drones, it's like they just went crazy all of a sudden. Lost of compass signal. Look at this. That's aggressive.
O bir tane İranlı hanım deyildi. Hatta geldi evlen de Ahudalık bir yok. Yok.
Alright, let's do some drone flying tests. I'll probably be testing again about the pictures and the filters and everything like that. Okay, that was an interesting test. Mostly I tested was the filters again. The first half I did it with the ND32 and then I went to the ND16 because I thought it was a little bit too dark when you're trying to get the below shots of the grass and all that. White balance is one of those things that I was playing around with too. because normally like right now, because I don't really know like the exact settings, like which one's best for which in terms of customizing the color temperature. Sometimes what I do is I put it on automatic and then I switch it to custom just to see what number it is. But I noticed, I believe for the Mavic Pro here, every time you put it on automatic, the max it would go is 7K in terms of the color temperature. So I tried to bump it up a little bit to like 8,000 just to see if it will work a little better, because I noticed a little bit sometimes at 7,000, like in a super bright day, it looks a little bit bluish or greenish. So this will be my test today too, and you guys would have saw it by now. They usually say you can fix everything in post anyways, but I would imagine it's better just to get it right the first time. Yeah, so tomorrow will be kind of interesting too. I don't know if I can fly the drone in that area, but I'll get my practice in regardless, like even if it's like in an open field and all that. Anyways, see you guys later.